Now welcome back to another video, everyone. We're gonna try, in today's video, to teach you 10 tips on how to plan the perfect Disneyland or Disney World vacation. Now your first tip here today is to plan ahead. Make sure to use your 60 days in advance, as of current, to plan those dining reservations. And make sure to use whatever it happens to be at the time for those hotel reservations too. Now, don't go searching on other websites for Disney hotels. Go to the official Disney website. You'll find exclusive deals that you aren't going to get anywhere else. And that leads us into number 2, which is take advantage of the deals. Taking advantage of the deals is super simple, and anyone can do them. Just go on the Disney website and make sure to be looking for all those deals and offers on hotels. Now, from experience, going to both Disneyland and Disney World, I know how interesting it can be to have to plan for these things. I know it can be a little frustrating at times, but overall, it is not difficult to find a good deal on a hotel room. Now, in Disney World, we stayed, or my party happened to be staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge. That's the one we chose to stay in because it had the Savannah view and all that stuff. Do I recommend that resort? Yes. To anyone who isn't afraid to be a little bit farther out than everyone else and pay a little bit more for their resort, but have a once-in-a-lifetime experience that you aren't going to experience anywhere else on Disney, in any park, I mean, it's really worth it. You get to walk out every morning and see the animals, and they're right there if you have a Savannah view, which I highly recommend you get. And we specifically stayed in the Jumbo House section of the resort. Now, this was, it's completely different than any other hotel you've stayed in, because it is in the Animal Kingdom Savannas, which means it's super far out from every other park. So those bus trips are going to be a little bit longer, but it's worth it for sure. Being able to go out every night and every morning and see those animals, that's pretty awesome. And you can get some pretty good deals on that resort. Some pretty good deals. Especially on those Savannah View rooms. And here's a quick tip for anyone who wants to learn about how to get better deals. Whatever they're advertising, they're like, how they advertise, get 50% off, or, maybe not that much, but get 25% off any get 25% off any 6-day, 5-night stay at the Yacht and Beach Club resorts, right? Both of those are very good resorts, but you can get those for less than a 6-day, 5-night stay. If you want to, you can look on that thing, and if you scroll down and read the fine print, you can see that maybe it applies to a 4-night to a 4-night 5-day stay, or a 3-night 4-day stay, or a 4-night 3-day stay, or whatever it may be. But make sure to really take advantage of those offers. Now, tip 3 is don't push anyone in your party to go to some place they don't want to go. And also to that extent, don't if someone in your party really doesn't like long bus rides, I wouldn't recommend, staying in the Animal Kingdom Lodge Resort, because that thing's super far and the bus rides are going to be really, really long. Unless you're, ride sharing or you rent a car. I mean, it's going to be the bus rides are going to be, sometimes 10 minutes plus. So, if you don't mind longer bus rides, go for it. But if you want to be able to walk to several places, I would definitely recommend the Yacht and Beach Club resorts because they're so close. Even the Swan and Dolphin is a good one to stay in because it's not as if you're more adult and you want to stay in a nice resort that doesn't have too many kids in it and isn't too far away from everything, definitely go with the Swan or the Dolphin Hotel, because both of those hotels are very nice. The restaurant there is very good. The actual grounds around the place are nice. I would definitely recommend staying there if you, are an adult going to Disney and you don't want to be around a ton of kids and you don't want to have to go on a bus ride for everything, because you can walk to can you walk? I don't know if you could actually walk, but it'd be a short bus ride to, Epcot, let's say. It'd be a fairly short bus ride to Epcot. You might be able to walk. Maybe. I don't remember the exact layout in my head. I know for sure from the Yacht and Beach Club you can walk, but those have kind of a lot of kids, and those are definitely are a large crowd area because it has the boardwalk and all that stuff there. Now, the next tip, and there will be some bonus tips here at the end. This next tip is a simple one, again, that everyone can benefit from. And that's budgeting well. Before we talk about deals, now we're talking about budgeting well. Make sure that you're not overwhelmed by how much it's going to cost. Realize that this Disney vacation will be expensive, whether it's Disneyland or Disney World. They will both be expensive, and they will both be, there will both be once-in-a-lifetime experiences for some people, So you need to plan accordingly. You need to realize that these places aren't your standard theme park. They aren't your Six Flags. They aren't your insert Cedar Fair park here, which, I mean, if you don't know, if you're not, like a amusement park person, Cedar Fair would be Cedar Point, Carowinds, Kings Dominion, Kings Island, California's Great America, Michigan's Great Adventure, Canada's Wonderland, Valley Fair. I know there's a few others. Worlds of Fun. I know I'm missing some, but it's not going to be a place like that. It's not going to be Dollywood or Silver Dollar City, or I'm done naming stuff now. It's not going to be that. It's completely different. It's a themed experience that from once, it's not like you're going to like the local Six Flags, right? Once you go there, everything is themed. Everything's set around the theme, which is whatever Disney stuff. And if you're not into Disney stuff, there is stuff there that is not, it's not all princesses and superheroes and that kind of stuff, right? There's, Pirates of the Caribbean. There's, the Haunted Mansion, which is not a scary ride for anyone who's wondering and hasn't been. It's not scary. Other than that kind of graveyard scene in the Disneyland version, whenever that thing kind of pops up, if you know what I'm talking about, I think it's in the Florida version too. I'm just can't think of how that one was. I know that one has the powered walkways, like in an airport to get out. It's kind of weird. I think that's the one that has it. Maybe I don't think the Disneyland one has that. I don't know. I might be switching them around in my mind here, but whenever that thing pops up behind a tombstone, that always freaks me out. But other than that part, it's more funny than scary. Or I kind of find it funny. I think it's supposed to be funny. I don't think it's supposed to be like, oh, I'm scared. No, I don't think so. It's a children's attraction. Now, there are some rides. This is the next tip. There are some rides. You see I'm leading this in. There are some rides that you aren't going to want to go on. Now, don't push people onto those rides that don't want to go on them. If your 7-year-old kid doesn't want to go on a test track because it goes, 65 miles an hour, all right, don't go on it with him. There's something called rider swap, where the people in your party can stay with that person and you can wait in line, and then you can swap so they get to and they don't have to wait in line. That's in the Florida parks. I don't know if the California ones have that, but I know for a fact that the Florida ones do. And I'm pretty sure the California ones do too, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But, don't force people to go on attractions they won't like because they won't like them. That's a very simple fact that I think everyone should be able to know. And let's go back to the thing about Test Track. That ride is dark, and that ride goes, not too fast, but it's fast, and it feels fast because you're low to the ground, and there's no roof over you. And similarly with the Cars ride, that one's a little bit more intense, at least in my opinion, because it has the little hills where you get a little bit of air. But, and those kind of hills kind of have that stomach-turning feeling, which is the next one, which is don't eat before you get on an attraction because you don't want to get car sick, or not car sick, but whatever you want to call it. You don't want to get an upset stomach. So don't be eating. Don't be like me. I'm a complete idiot. Do as I say, not as I do. Whenever I go to Disneyland, I end up eating like 15 churros and then going on the Cars ride and wondering why. Or it's actually called, Radiator Springs Racers. And end up wondering why my stomach hurts by the end of the day. It's because I've, probably eaten way too many churros and have had, I'll eat trail mix and stuff like that sometimes, but mostly what I'm eating there is churros. So I highly would not recommend going on a ride like Test Track or Radiator Springs Racers, or even something that seems tame, like let's think, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. That one can really swing you around sometimes, and if you just had like 3 churros before then, I definitely wouldn't recommend getting on that one. And it's the same one with the Roger Rabbit one. I think that one's still open. Do not go on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride before you eat tons of churros. That one kind of it's an old. It's one of the original rides that was at Disneyland. That's one of the rides that kind of seems like it's kind of cheap, but it has that kind of local park charm to it. Let's just say. It's clearly made out of wood cutouts and that kind of stuff, and you can tell the ride isn't as technologically advanced as some others, but it's still a fun ride nevertheless. Definitely do not go on there before eating a ton of churros, though. Not a good idea. It whips you around a lot more than you would think. Yeah, don't go on it unless you have a clear stomach. And with some of you, it might be fine. Some of you don't have motion sick, it might be fine, but don't be going on those rides without thinking of what you ate beforehand. And the third one is, don't get upset when something goes wrong. Or not the third one. The next one is, don't get upset if something goes wrong. If something goes wrong, let me see how long it's been. If something goes wrong, don't be afraid. Don't get mad. Don't get your knackers in a bunch, or whatever you want to call it. Panties in a twist, knackers in a bunch, or is it the other way around? Knackers in a twist, panties in a bunch? Not sure. You know what I'm talking about. Don't get all bent out of shape about one thing going wrong, like you can't go on this ride, or the line's too long, or your stomach hurts. There's always time to, just kind of lay low and, don't like to say this word, but chill. Don't like that word. And that leads into our next one, which is planning those times where there's nothing going on, and there's time to just sit around and do nothing, or explore the park a little bit, or walk around, or even using the restroom, depending on how rigorous your planning is and how rigid your schedule might be. Sometimes planning in bathroom breaks, if you're planning on getting every single ride done, or almost every single ride done in 4 days at Disneyland, because it is possible. I got almost every single one done in, I think, there were some rides I didn't do, for sure. But I got all the ones I wanted to do done in 3 days, something like that. And I got to rewrite some of the rides I liked and all that stuff. And that was taking advantage of the extra magic hour. That's in the next one, but we're going to see on this one a little bit. So make sure to plan those times to take breaks, right? But even with my being able to do all the rides I've ever wanted to do and re-ride some, I planned in when I was going to have a break, when I was just going to walk around, when I was going to explore the park, what's to do next, right? That was all planned out. By time, too. Not by I'm going to do this first, and that first, and that first. I had times laid out. So, you have to do your research for that, but it's helpful. Utilizing those extra magic hours. Make sure, if you are staying in a Disney hotel, which is the next one, that you are utilizing those extra magic hours, so they give you extra time to ride rides that would have a super long line if you weren't able to do them, that you wouldn't be able to do if they had a super long line in the midday. Now the next one is, those extra magic hours are only available to Disney-owned resorts and some other things, some other hotels that are not owned by Disney but are in the Disney area. Now, I'm not going to get into all that right now, or I kind of am, but I'm not going to get too technical with it because I wouldn't want to confuse you. There's a long process and there's a long thing where I can get into about which one of these resorts to stay at if you aren't going to stay at the Disney one and all that stuff. But there are resorts in the area that give you, the extra magic hour, or give you some of those perks that a Disney, a person staying in a Disney-owned resort would have. And don't be afraid to use those either. if you don't have enough money, and that goes around with the budgeting thing. If you don't have enough money to stay in a Disneyland, in a Disney-owned hotel, don't stay in one. You know, there's in Florida, there's a Marriott one that is fairly close that you could, you know, Uber in, or I think there's actually a shuttle too that goes directly to Disney from the Marriott in Florida, and that one has the perks. So I don't know exactly what one that one's called because I didn't do that research for this video. But the next thing is, what is the next thing? Oh, don't overdo it on how much food you're gonna eat. I would recommend snacking all day and dinner at the end. Some people recommend, you know, having breakfast, lunch, dinner. I would not recommend doing that unless this is not like your only time going to Disney and you've done this so many times and you're like a veteran. Do not do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This is an unpopular opinion that you are not going to hear on any other YouTube channel, to not do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Everyone else is going to say, make sure you get breakfast, lunch, and dinner in. Do not do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It is a waste of time and a waste of money. You will get hungry, but those portion sizes are huge. They are big portions. They are not small little stuff. They are big. The plates are big. Your dinner is going to be huge, especially if you're having like a 3-course meal where it's an appetizer, a main dish, and a dessert. That's a lot of stuff to be eating all at once. You can snack all day, and it saves time and it saves money, and it ensures that you're not going to eat at any bad food places. Now, there are several restaurants that are not good, but especially in Epcot, almost every single one of those places in the World Showcase is a good restaurant. The one in the Italy Pavilion and the one in the French Pavilion especially. And I can't think of what my favorite one is in the Disneyland Resort, what it's called. But it's directly across from Cars Land in California Adventure, I believe. It's kind of... It doesn't look like it's a Disney place, but it is. Like it wouldn't, if I showed you a picture of this restaurant, it wouldn't look like it was in Disneyland, but it is. I can't think of what it's called, which is kind of annoying me right now, but you know, that's fine. Can't think of what it's called. Sorry. Make sure you're eating at places that you actually want to eat at, and not just because it's close or convenient. Hence why you make those reservations beforehand. Now, our next one is to make sure to be drinking water or, you know, Gatorade or whatever. Make sure to actually be drinking that all the time. You will get thirsty. There will be a lot of walking. There's been several times where I've walked, like, especially when I was in Disney World, which is in Florida, where I walked, like, upwards of 20 miles a day. Now, that kind of seems a bit excessive, but in Disneyland, I have no problem. You know, if you really want to get your steps in, Disneyland, you have no problem, if you're going on every single ride, to be walking 11 miles. You know, you end up walking a ton at Disneyland, and you need a lot of water. A lot of water. So plan those things. Plan when you're going to get water, and where you're going to get water. And maybe you want to bring it beforehand. Maybe you want to bring it into the park, because it's expensive in the park. that comes into our next thing, which is wear comfortable shoes and comfortable clothing. You don't need to be dressing for the red carpet. You need to wear something that's comfortable and is right for the weather. In Florida, it gets hot, even in the wintertime. So, I mean, it's humid there. It's not like Disneyland, if you've been to Disneyland before, where it's dry but it's hot, and in the morning it gets kind of cold. No, in Disney World, it's hot all year round, and in the summertime there will be storms. So plan accordingly, and you'll never know when there's going to be a rainstorm in Florida. The tropical climate can bite your butt at any time of the year. So really make sure to plan accordingly. Pack ponchos if you're going to Florida, and short sleeve shirts. It's hot, and there could be rain, and that would not be fun to get all wet and then have to go into a store and buy a $10 poncho. At Disneyland, I would recommend for the morning time, definitely bring a sweater. Doesn't need to be super heavy, but bring a sweater. That could be either the zip-up variety or the pullover variety. And I do mean a sweater or a jacket. It can be the hooded kind of zip-up jacket, or it can be a sweater. Sweater. I want to say that, and I want to emphasize that. Sweater. Like the time without a hood. Sweater. Because they're light, and they keep you warm for, California. And it's not going to get extremely cold there either. In Southern California, it doesn't snow, so dress accordingly. And wear comfortable shoes, for sure. Wear comfortable shoes. Shoes that aren't going to give you blisters. Amazon delivers to every single Disney-owned resort. So, definitely, if you don't have comfortable shoes, order some on Amazon. We've had to do this. My party had to do this when we went to Disney World in Florida. Had to end up buying shoes on Amazon because their shoes were not comfortable enough. And the next one is, don't forget to have fun, right? You're at Disney World or Disneyland, have a good time while you're there. Don't let all these planning things ruin your vacation and have way too much impact on what you do. You can disregard everything that I said, and you can make a huge plan and then not decide to do it. I mean, it all depends on what you're feeling in the moment, right? If you don't feel like going on Mr. Cho's Wild Ride at 11 a.m., don't do it. That's probably the simplest thing I can say. Is, you don't always need to follow your plans. Now, one more. This is the very last one. Don't get pulled in to buy merchandise. Don't get pulled in to buy stuff that you don't need. Think about stuff before you buy it. And don't just buy stuff on an impulse. Even though it may seem great now, I mean, the return policy is good, but you might not want it later on. So make sure that you really like whatever you're buying, because it gets expensive there, and especially in Galaxy's Edge. So, I hope everyone had a good day, week, month, and year. Goodbye.